Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's good to see you. We actually miss you with our in-between times. We've had been doing it weekly for so long. Now that we're doing it bi-weekly, there's a little space, a little gap in there. So we're glad that you're still tuning in to our presentations, COVID updates for Liberty County. So thank you so much for your perseverance. Once again, thank Team Liberty for what they do. Thank all those persons on every level for what they do to help keep us safe. Thank the citizens for your diligence. Thank you for your compliance. Thank you for observing, the CDC rules. And I think that we are in this for the long haul. And as been said by so many people, we're not going back to the old way we used to do things. We're not going back there. So just let us all be patient and be compliant as much as we can, especially as we approach the holidays. We know what that normally is, but it can't be what it normally was. So let's all prepare for that, but yet still enjoy each other and show thanks and have our family gatherings and the love and compassion for each other that we should have just as we do for mankind. So just ask you to keep that in mind. I want everybody to, 2 weeks after Thanksgiving to be safe, 2 weeks after Christmas to be safe. We don't want to see any spikes. We want to maintain the race that we have now. You're going to hear some quotes following me very shortly on where we are now. So we're holding our own, and we can't do it, though, without you. And it is true, we're all in this together. So with that, I'm going to yield now to the verified mayor of the city of Walthamville, the Honorable Larry Baker.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman, and to each of you that's on this panel. I'd like to say to the city of Walthamville, we're doing real well. We did have a festival on Saturday and Friday. It was small, and we practiced the 3W. Watch, wear, and what's the other one? Watch, wear, and wash your hands. So we're doing real well in the city of Walthamville, and thank you so very much. The city hall is still closed at this time because we did have one, I think one of our officers, his son came up, so we continue to move with precautions. So City Hall is still closed, but the drive-through and the drop box and the online payment is working real well. And I want to say thank you to the citizens of Walthamville. And at this time, I will yield the floor to Mayor Allen Brown, City of Hinesville.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. Mayor Baker.
Yes, sir.
Say Team Liberty.
Team Liberty.
All right. This is no panel. We're Team Liberty. And there's more of us out there, but we're the ones that show up for this.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to everyone in Hinesville and Liberty County. As of yesterday, Liberty County had 1,293 confirmed cases, with 6 of those confirmed overnight. In the last 2 weeks since we have met with you, we've had an increase of 52 cases. What I do want to thank the city of Hinesville and Liberty County residents for is their dedication to keeping themselves, their families, and their neighbors safe over the last few weeks, last few months now. I was looking at the data from the last 2 weeks, and although there were a few days of small spikes in our numbers, I'm quite pleased that there were several days with 0. We need to get a whole bunch of those days, maybe all of them at some point. With all that being said, we're coming up on a time of the year where parties and gatherings are the norm, and of course everybody out there knows this is not a norm year. This is not a normal year. I ask that you please continue following the guidelines laid out by the governor of Georgia and the city of Hinesville and the county. And of course, wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. If you have not seen it as of yet, the governor extended his public health emergency to Wednesday, December 9th, and the state's COVID-19 measures to November the 15th. All state and local emergency orders can be found at the City of Hinesville site, cityofhinesville.org/517/COVID-19, or you can view them on the governor's website, governor.georgia.gov. If you're in need of a test for COVID, the Diversity Health Center is still conducting testing on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the first 150 visitors to James Brown Park between 9 and 11 a.m. More information can be found at diversityhc.org. You can also receive a test by appointment from the Georgia Department of Public Health on Wednesdays from 8 a.m. till noon in Liberty County. To schedule an appointment there, you call 912-230-9774, and that's your best way to do it. So that's really all I have to say, except I always remind you, once again, to continue practicing the 3 W's. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and to Team Liberty. I hope I got it right. And on behalf of the school district, I again want to thank all of the stakeholders for working with us. We are still maneuvering through. The goal is to educate our children and of course keep them safe and keep our staff safe and keep the spread of the coronavirus down. We also are planning, the federal government did not give us, the state of Georgia, a pass on testing. So one of the things that we are trying to figure out right now is we have 5,000 students coming to school every day. We have approximately 4,500 or so that's virtual. And so coming up soon, I think December the 9th, we're going to have to test all high school students on the end of the course exam, 9 through 12. And so what we're trying to figure out now, and that's got to be done in the school. It cannot be done virtual. These virtual students are going to have to come in. So what we're trying to do now is work on a plan that will have those youngsters safe. It may mean that we have to have our high school students that's not testing to stay home those particular days. So I do ask that you work with us on that because that's one of the things that we're going to have to do. In addition to that, we are concerned about our virtual students. They are not performing as well naturally as we would like for them to do. So again, we're calling on parents and everybody, community people that can help us with these students because they're simply going to have to perform. Otherwise, they're going to be behind when they come back. So that is a concern of ours. We're also moving through, we've done pretty well with our athletics, our football. Now we're moving and thinking more about basketball. We know that there are going to have to be some protocols in place in order to do that. And you'll hear more details about that later. Presently, we have approximately 60 students quarantined, approximately 6 staff members quarantined. But what I will tell you is that the contacts have come basically outside the system and came into us. But we do the tracing. We're still following the protocol of taking temperatures. We are still asking our students and our parents if they're feeling sick, for goodness sake, stay home. They won't be counted absent. They can actually sign on to be virtual. So I have to thank our students, and they are wearing their masks, they are washing their hands, and they're watching their distance. And so that's enabled us to move to where we are now. So we certainly want to keep that up. I'm thankful for our parents. We do have a limit as far as visiting our schools. You've done well. You're communicating well with the teachers. And again, I can't thank our teachers enough because most of them are teaching face-to-face students and teaching virtual at the same time. And that's a real tough task. So my hat is off to them. We will keep moving forward. We met with the seniors today to let them know that in spite of COVID-19, we got to get them ready, and we got to get them through this year. So thank you for the Liberty County. I still say to Team Liberty, this is the best county around. I am convinced of that, and so I just thank everybody, all of the stakeholders, for what you are doing to support the Liberty County school system, to support our children, and just working with us. We're not perfect, but certainly this community is working through this with us, and that certainly means a lot. So thank you.
Good morning, Team Liberty. First of all, let me say thank you to Dr. Perry. Thank you so very much, and I commend you for your effort and leading your team through this unprecedented time of this pandemic. You know, it's good to have all the team members around the table and to discuss and to convey the efforts that are ongoing throughout this period. I want to also commend and echo the sentiments of Chairman Lovett, Mayor Brown, and Mayor Baker. But there are some things that I would like to just encourage those who are out there to continue to do. Please let us not get wary at this point in time. I know that there is a fascination with gathering sometimes during the holiday seasons. We're just coming out of Halloween, and we've had several events. We have spent tireless time and effort to make sure that if and when we do these events, we're doing it as safe as possible. And that is going to be the norm for us in the city of Hinesville. We're going into where you have your fall festivals and Christmas and Thanksgiving and all those things, but we want to encourage you individually as well as collectively to adhere to the CDC guidelines, because it is so vitally important that we do this. I know that this has been a protracted period of time where it seems like, we should be out of this environment and now getting back to some sense of normalcy. But the reality of the situation is that we're just not there yet. The virus is still alive, and it's affecting a lot of people in this community as well as other communities, surrounding communities. So it is incumbent upon us as Liberty Countyans to ensure that we are taking every measure possible to help with not to spread the virus any more than we have to. Now, the numbers are somewhat up and down. You've heard the numbers from the mayor, but over 50 cases in Liberty County over the last 2 weeks. We've had a period of several days in there, as the mayor stated, where we had zero, actually. We didn't have any cases. I feel that though the spike is directly, maybe indirectly, but somewhat related to gatherings. We've had several gatherings over the period of time since we've met, and that is not the typical activity that we need to engage in as a community, because chances are there is a percentage of those who gather. If you have 150, so on and so forth, you have a certain percentage that perhaps may have the virus. And then once it's spread within that group, and then it just goes from there. So we are asking, we're pleading to you today to continue. Let's stay steadfast in this, because we're all in it, and I know you've heard this many, many times. We're all in this together. So we're looking out for one another as we continue to brave the storm of this pandemic. Once again, City of Hinesville, we're still in these mitigation period in terms of how we do business, conduct business at the City Hall and city facilities. Our court system is still modified. Came in this morning where we had a line outside of our municipal court where those who are involved in that type of service, if you will, they are being basically serviced in a modified way. So we appreciate your patience in the way that you are allowing us to conduct business along the way. Now, we don't have, and I'll knock on wood, we don't have anyone in quarantine at this time for the City of Hinesville. That is due to really staff being diligent in their efforts to not to spread the virus. And I appreciate that. Mayor and council appreciate that. We're still conducting city council meetings, although in a modified way. Our council meeting will be done where we are asking those who are in desires of speaking with mayor and council during that time that they sign up prior to the meeting, after which we'll follow up and let you know that you have been approved to appear before the mayor and council and to speak accordingly. So we are excited about what we're doing and that you guys are cooperating, and hopefully we'll continue to do this until we get through this time, which is very, very uncertain in terms of how long it will take. So thank you again for your time, and now we have County Administrator Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Ms. Howard, and I think we've all echoed just our pride in being able to work together and try to work through something none of us, I think, ever envisioned would occur in our lifetime. Statistically, you've heard some numbers. I use kind of the same numbers that I gather off the Department of Public Health website. Our daily average of new cases is up just a tick from about 6.14 to 6.57. I'm trying to figure out this morning how you get a percentage of a case, but officially that's the statistic on it. The daily case rate per 1,000, which is an important indicator for a lot of things that the state uses, is up from 9.9 to 10.6. These are from a couple of weeks ago when we talked. That daily transmission index, again, another important indicator, up from 105 to 130. Remember, anything over 100 is not good. So we are seeing that slight spike, and I agree with Kenny. I think it's a lot for the gatherings. I think it's also seasonal, a lot more indoor type activity, and I think a little bit of that was to be expected as we moved into the fall season. Remember to look at those websites at the DPH website on COVID-19. There's a lot of information out there for you, including a lot of information on flu clinics and immunizations that are taking place. I will mention just one, that drive-through flu clinic that is scheduled for James Brown Park a couple of times, the first on December the 8th and the other on January 12th. And again, just as a reminder, and you've heard it over and over, probably this is the time, if you've never taken it, to get a flu shot. You wouldn't want to be challenged with 2 types of flu at one time. Our general offices really have no change since we spoke last. You can expect temperature checks and some checks as you come in those doors. Anyone that comes into the building is asked to mask for the continuing time that they're inside the building. Court facilities, I mentioned last time, there is no change there. We're still under a judicial state of emergency until November the 9th of 2020. I do think the Chief Justice Melton will probably come out at that time and actually talk about the resumption of some type of jury activities, especially in the mark of grand juries, which have been basically postponed except for major events. There's a large backlog of cases that's occurring, you can imagine, for over about 9 months now, that have to be processed through the court system. So I do expect to hear something from him on that. Recreation-wise, our facility has not changed. You can still have some limited events practicing social distancing by contacting the recreation department and having those scheduled. Same goes for use of some of the fields and venues. If you'll contact the recreation department at 912-876-5359, they'll be glad to walk you through what's available and what you still have to do. There are no organized sports at this time. The commission is going to be talking, like the Board of Education is, about basketball and even into some spring things to see if what's possible and what might have to be put into place for that. So stay tuned. Some of that is forthcoming. Commission meetings are still limited. We are going through some very important public hearings right now concerning the millage rate. We are broadcasting on Facebook Live. We will monitor those comments. We will provide an answer. If you'll please watch it there, we'll be glad to take your input and to note it for the record. And any presentations that we do related to the millage will stay up on that Facebook site so that you can go back later and take a look at it. The last thing I want to touch on is voting. We came through, I think, what is a very successful voting period. There are so many accolades that I could list for people that were involved. I listened to Dr. Perry talk about how he's having to do the school system, and logistically, like Kenny said, my hat's off to you, because we all are working through some logistical things, but when you talk about that many students and how to do that, it's amazing of what they're able to accomplish on the Board of Education side. Similarly, on the voting side, we handle the largest number of voters we've ever handled, both pre-election and during Election Day. We handled that at all the venues plus some that we've had. We handled it with an increased voting staff under COVID guidelines, and I want to just commend everybody that was involved with that. But the other outreach I want to do is to the public, to say, you've never been through a time like this, and hopefully we crest a hill and we come back down and we're doing something a little bit different, closer to normal. But my hat's also off to you for the patience, the diligence, everything that you practiced at those polls when you came in, the different things you had to do that were inconveniences, and you were still there to cast that vote, which is so important in the American way. So my hat's off to everybody involving that. We do have a few people in quarantine. We went through some of the election stuff like that with some poll workers and things, and we've taken those precautions that public health recommends we take. We also had to do a temporary office closure this week at one of our smaller offices related to COVID. Again, I think all of those were attributable to an outside source coming in. So I'll leave you with this. Yes, it's a discomfort sometimes to wear one of these. Please do that when you come in our facilities. Please do that when you visit places where people congregate, grocery stores, they have to be there. Practice these because they make a difference. We want to be here to provide the service for you that you've asked us to provide, and the only way we can do that is we stay safe. So I leave you with that. Hats off to Team Liberty. It's the best team in the world for me, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Brown and Team Liberty. I want to echo the sentiments of those before me, too, to appreciate Dr. Perry and the Board of Education for doing an outstanding job of managing the lives of our students, a very special part of our population, so thank you for doing that. And we do offer our continued support for you all as you march forward, and happy to hear that we may get to see the Liberty versus Bradwell basketball game, so some of the things that made the community tick. In fact, Mayor Brown, let me say this. I was out at Oglethorpe Square this past weekend. I was happy to see the robust amount of activity at our shopping center. So we can do it. We can do it. We just got to be safe when we do it, but it can be done. If you're watching the news, other areas of the nation really are talking about having to shut down again. So let's prevent the re-shutting down. Is that a word? Let's prevent going back to that. We don't want to shut down again. But lest we be safe, we find ourselves there. So like Mr. Brown and others before me, thank you so much for your compliance. We just look forward to working together. And this is a great place, Dr. Perry. I agree with you. There's no better place than Liberty County. That's why we say we're Liberty County proud. So closing, we'll just remind you, Team Liberty, we got to do what? Wear our masks, wash our hands, and watch our distance. Have a great day.